when you stick 3 opinionated blokes in a room and put World of Warcraft in front of them.
A completely unchained view from each of them that clash in spectacular fashion, much like the best raids of all time. Classic.
There's going to be someone who's always right and someone who's always wrong, like Dunkirk is, as we know the latest raids are much better.
So, with that in mind, it's time to take a look at the latest Warcraft news and speculation. But be careful what you wish for, because
You think you do,
but you don't. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is the almighty Farseer, without a hat today, and I'm joined by the illustrious Kexman of the, is he north of me? Kexman of the North. Let's say that. Kexman of the North. Did you unmute yourself as well? We're on...
I've unmuted myself. I've been so I've only just got home like 10 minutes ago, and I've been so distracted with doing other things. I haven't even realised I had none of my audio equipment set up.
Oh, right. Okay. That will explain a few things then. Cool. I've got to sort out my hair and everything now because I don't have my hat. It's in the other room. I can't be bothered to get it. So here we are.
Get a haircut, you goddamn hippie.
It's happening tomorrow. Would you believe it?
How much are you getting cut off?
Up to just shoulder length, just there. There you go.
So you're not getting a haircut. You're getting
Yes.
a trim.
Yeah. I'm getting a trim.
That's pretty terrible, to be honest. You need a full haircut.
Oh god, and
You need a short back and sides. You need a decent level.
and you need a decent mic. So, like, holy crap.
I tell you what, you buy me a decent mic and then we'll talk.
No, it's not my your mic is not my responsibility. Your mic is your responsibility.
But my money is.
Yeah, I mean, I could take that off your hands if you want.
No. I'm asking you to buy me a new mic.
And I'm telling you, no. Anyway, guys, welcome to the show. I'm Kexman. This is Farseer, and no, I'm Farseer. That is Kexman.
Do you want to push me on a day like today?
And, well, we're here for the 14th of February, 2020, and
It's Valentine's Day.
It is Valentine's Day. Kexman, how has your Valentine's Day been so far? Let me ask you that, shall I?
I refuse to speak because of the TOS.
It's been a great day then. It's been a good day.
Yeah, it has been one of those days. It's been horrible. I've not enjoyed it, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy the evening, which of course is spent here on Warcraft Radio with yourself.
Yep.
And we're hosting You Think You Do, But You Don't. There used to be 3 of us. There was a weird Scottish voice.
Yes.
In the intro.
Yes.
Who was that?
So you know what? Because it's been so long, right? We've just been sat here so long and wondering, like, who that voice is and, like, why we've got this section down here. I was curious, and I'm like, I did start looking this up, right? And there was in these really old dusty books.
You did your research.
I did. There was these really old dusty books in a library, and apparently many years ago, there used to be a Scottish person on this show as well. It wasn't just me and you.
Were you like Gandalf when he's like looking through all the books
and researching for the ring? Yeah. I've gone to the foreboding city that's going to be used in the future, and I went and I did my research, and apparently there was someone who was with like here at some point. Some in the scriptures, some say they were here while we were here as well, but I don't remember that. Like, I don't.
I've heard rumors.
Yeah, no, the scriptures.
I've heard rumors that they speak of an angry Scottish man who once walked these halls.
Yeah,
he
did.
Our own version of Morose, except he's not blind, and
I'm blind, not deaf.
Stop looking at it.
Why are you quoting Boris the Animal? That was Illidan from Warcraft 3. How dare you, sir?
What is that what is that?
This is my light. This is how much light is emitting. That is not much. This is why I'm not really
That's not a light.
This is why I'm not really lit up. This is what I have to work with, okay? Right?
That's terrible. That's not a light.
I'm getting a better one. Speaking of money and responsibility, I also don't have much. Do not talk to me about this. This is what I have to work with. Deal with it.
You could get a candle. You could buy a tea light, and it would give you more light.
I've shook it and it's sort of fixed it. Hold on. If I put it down, will it break? No. I managed to fix it by shaking it. Hooray! There we go.
You know what they say? When in doubt, give it a clout.
I mean, that's what the British say, apparently. Okay.
They do say that.
Okay, cool. Anyway, so yeah, my Valentine's Day been good. Well, I say good.
I don't want to know.
You've been at work. I've been at work.
I've been on day, like 4 out of 14 in a row.
Well, look, take that in a positive. Look at that as a glass half full sort of deal. You've knocked 4 days off that, so now it's only 10 days left.
That is very true.
So
that is very true.
You got to do it that way.
Speaking of 10 days left, you know what wishes it had 10 days left? Blackwing Lair.
Why is that, Kex? Why would you say such a thing?
Because everyone was hyped, and this is where my issue lies with Classic, and it was something that I spoke about many times before in the past, and I have been shot down by multiple people being like, oh, this is what people enjoy and everything, and it's fine if you enjoy it. But for the casual player, if you introduce a new raid that is then cleared in 44 minutes, doesn't even last an hour
from patch release, like the moment of patch release.
Literally, patch goes live 44 minutes later, the boss is dead. The last boss is dead. Now, I understand that people have had years and years to practice this, and they know the itemization, and they know the classes and everything like that. But this is ridiculous. It's not even. People say, "Oh, the progression went quickly." That's not progression. That's entering a raid and immediately being in a farm run. That's not even a farm run. That's the exact opposite of that.
The script.
Classic was really hard. The raiding was difficult. 44 minutes later. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. If you enjoy it, fine. That's good. Good for you. Classic is a great game. But do not sit there and pretend as though Classic is in any way, shape, or form some sort of progression content. It is not difficult. It never was difficult. Your rose-tinted glasses do not suit you. Yep.
Speaking of scriptures, it did say in the scriptures once that Classic was difficult, like in the scriptures of many years ago.
Rav it was hard when people were dumb and knew nothing about anything. No, it wasn't hard. People were stupid. People were terrible players. Nothing to do with it being hard. This is just proving it. It was never hard in the first place. It's just that at the time, nobody had ever come across it. Nobody had ever realized raiding at that level.
Would you have said people were bad then? Because it's like something new that they hadn't encountered before? And it wasn't like, it didn't give a new level of difficulty because it was new? Like, when we move on...
Hang on, that is not the same with all raids, though.
Well, so here's the thing. So if we went forward and we went to, let's say, jump 5, 6, 7 expansions later into WoW, say it carries on for that long, and then people then go and on the 7th expansion go, oh, why do you guys find like Nyalotha Mythic card? God, that's just like a steamroll. You must have just been crap. Is that the same thing?
No, not at all. Completely different.
Okay, do tell.
Like, here's the thing.
Yes.
You compare the difference between Blackwing Lair as it was released in Classic and back in Vanilla, okay?
Yeah.
Now compare it to the raids that are releasing, compare it to Mythic. Well, okay, maybe Mythic Nyalotha is probably not the best example, but compare it to, okay, so for example, compare the bosses there to Eternal Palace. Mythic. Okay, that's probably Eternal Palace is probably a good indication.
Or even Dazala if you wanted to.
Yeah, Dazala if you will, Jaina. The new raids are harder, but yes, knowledge is very, very powerful. You know a fight. But even if you know a fight, it still can remain hard. It's one of those where the fights you look at the abilities that were available to you,
Yeah.
like the bosses used way back when, they were so simple. People are better now than they were back then. It's not necessarily about knowledge. The general skill of the player base is much higher than it ever was, even if LFR tends to sometimes disagree with that statistic and that fact. But
I think LFR is an outside kind of element where people are
that's
just
because they know how to play.
I think
Therefore, the old raids weren't hard. It's just people didn't play well.
I think LFR is an outside element where people are just not that they're bad, they're just lazy. I think, and they just don't want to put in the effort. I think it's a matter of they can, they just don't want to. I think it's an outside element. I don't think it really counts in the this sort of thing. Although I see what you're saying. But I mean, look. So you wouldn't say that for if mechanics got much harder later on that people were bad, or unless the skill keeps going up. Unless the skill keeps going up of players, in which case they can look back and say, okay, those weren't as good because this is much harder now.
It's difficult to look. You can definitely look back because you have the information available to you.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to look forward. It's better computers, as Seek puts, better computers. That makes a massive difference. But we are now at a point where you look at guilds like Limit, like Method, who they are the best that we have ever seen in an MMO genre. They are so good and they are so cutting edge. Yes, Nyalotha was buggy and in some cases undertuned. We've had that confirmed. That's, Blizzard themselves, Ian Hazzikostas themselves, has acknowledged that, this is an issue.
Yeah, of course.
But still, Limit played such a good level. Unless there is a massive change in the way that World of Warcraft works, there is no way that we can realistically see a massive jump in between what we see now and in 5 years. You compared to what we saw 5 years ago, and it was the same sort of thing.
Are you saying that there is a ceiling?
At some point, yes.
A skill ceiling, yeah.
So
yeah, of course.
For the way that Warcraft currently works, yes, there is 100% a ceiling.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Because of RNG, because of, human reflexes,
limitation of the creativity and game mechanics, many factors.
Yeah, there is never ever going to be a perfect fight.
Yeah.
No one is ever going to be able to pull off 100% of their potential.
Yeah.
It's, Limit came close. The pulls that they had, and the fact that they had Max as the 21st raider, the fact that they had people outside of the raid writing weak auras so they didn't have to stop, is a massive factor. That's as close as we have come to a perfect run through a mythic world first race. Okay. And it's going to be difficult for anyone to beat that.
So what are people? So I'm curious, then, Kex. It's not just been Blackwing Lair. It's not just been Blackwing Lair, right? That just got released. Was there any other because Dunkirk's a classic, man. And he's just never here anymore. So we had Blackwing Lair. So that includes Upper Blackrock Spire, Century into Blackrock Spire, getting the Orb of Command. Yep. So you get access to it. So, I mean, was that the main part of this patch? It was Blackwing Lair? It does seem to be.
Yeah, Blackwing Lair was that was it. The patch is over. The patch was over 44 minutes into, into the whole sort of like...
Oh, this is why I want Dunkirk here, because how often does he argue that, like, any new patch, like 8.3 or 8.2 or whatever, is like, oh, I've done it now. Done it in an hour. It's nothing exactly. To do. And now this has just happened, and he's like, "No, that's not the same." Though?
Lee makes a good point. Calling it a patch is probably slightly disingenuous because it was, like he said, just a flip of a switch.
But this is what
the
people
phases
wanted.
that they have been going through has not been quite as tight as they did beforehand.
Yeah.
It's one of those. The raid was there. They flipped the switch. They opened the gate. That's still fine. That's. We're not arguing about the release of the patch. The problem you've got is you turn around and Classic is here's the big thing.
Yep.
Classic is seen as for some people, the pinnacle of the game, the best version of the game. And if you look at how the raids are designed, if you look at everything, how it all works now, there is no way, shape, or form you can turn around and say that the raiding or even the end game in Classic WoW is in any way, shape, or form better than retail WoW. Even though Ny'alotha opened with a lot of bugs, there was a lot of issues, and there was a lot of problems in regards to bosses respawning, all that sort of stuff. We now have a raid where, yes, it has taken a cutting-edge mythic guild, Limit, playing the most perfect raid you have ever seen. It's above anything we have seen on a mythic race.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact it took them over 230 attempts, they spent more time on, on N'Zoth. Probably, I think they spent about 2.5, 3 days.
Yeah.
So that means they spent like 50, 60 times longer on the newest end game boss.
But also,
now, yes, you can't compare it. They've had Lee says they've taken 15 years to min-max every aspect of Classic, classes, gear, boss strats. That's why you see 40 minutes to clear it. That's fine, 100%. But at the same time, don't then turn around and say Classic is the pinnacle of raiding, because it's already proven that it's not. If you were to take people with the same sort of gear through later bosses, so if you turn around and you took people, I don't know, let's say in 15 years' time, people came back to Mythic Ny'alotha with the gear that, they sort of have now, it would still be the same sort of difficulty because the bosses are a lot more involved. There's a lot more to do. If you were to compare the two,
about that, a supportive point about that, I guess, is what is that bloody boss called in Throne of Thunder that you really need to focus on, even if you're completely overgeared, because it's just mechanically a difficult one. It's the anima blood like things. Because I think that's percentage based, isn't it? Really, so you still got to be careful.
So you can solo that now fairly easy.
I knew for the longest time you couldn't though.
But yeah, again, that is not Primordius. Primordius is the one before. This is the one after Primordius. The problem you've got with that is, again, that's a perfect example. If you were to put people back then, with the same sort of gear, it wouldn't. Throne of Thunder would not take 44 minutes. I mean, it's a longer dungeon. It's longer.
Yeah, true.
But the bosses are more difficult. There's more abilities. There's more issues. It's our level of knowledge and ability was a fraction. And Smurflord saying Classic was only difficult because we didn't know what we were doing back then. So therefore, Classic was not difficult.
Mm. I think people need to word things a little bit better. When it comes to Classic, when they say it was a pinnacle of WoW raiding, when you say that, you're basically saying it's better than everything up to current day. When you say that, I think I think then you challenge that, and then you get every element from all the latest raids and go put it side by side with Blackwing Lair, with Zul'Gurub and everything, and it wins. It wins every time because of how they're designed and what they are. If it didn't, Blizzard would be doing something very wrong. It would be disastrous. And I think they need to reword it. I think Classic people need to reword it. If it's the pinnacle of WoW raiding for them personally, yes, that's fine. Don't say it's the best ever because then you're challenging like the new raids, which you shouldn't do because you're definitely not going to win on that one.
You're never going to win. I mean, you think of like the fight against Nefarian is often considered as one of the more difficult ones, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really not. It's not massively difficult when you consider their abilities. It's not difficult at all.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why people consider that to be a...
Kadjit's got it right, yeah, because there's a lot more detail and there's so much more to consider these days. Well, classes are a lot more complex. You're not just spamming a quick rotation. There's a lot more movement. There's a lot more mechanics. There's a lot more to think about. There's so many more things to think about rather than having, right, I've got my fire resist gear. I'm a mage. Let's just throw Frostbolts or Ragnaros, for example. Like
Lee makes, so that's an interesting point from Lee. That's because retailers min-maxed at every level a day before they raid/patch drops. The top guilds jump on PTR, they test everything, and within a few hours, everyone knows what their best in slots are. Okay, they do test them. If that's the case, why are retail raids taking so long?
yeah,
And to compare classic and retail raiding isn't possible. It's two.
No,
they
it
are
is
two
true. It is true.
Entirely different things.
Yeah,
You cannot compare them.
that's why I
However,
said people need to be
that
careful with their
also means
wording.
Yeah, you can't turn around and say classic was more difficult, or the content was more. You can
Because then you're comparing.
yeah, because then you're comparing. You can turn around and say, "Oh, I found it more interesting," or "I was more engaged at that point." That's fine. That's something that you yourself are going through. That's a subjective thing. But to look and say this is more difficult, you have to look at it objectively, and you cannot do that. It's impossible to look at classic raiding and looking at classic WoW and saying this is more difficult when it isn't. It's been proven that it isn't. When Molten Core was cleared in like 29 minutes or whatever the bloody hell it was, they turned around and they said, "Oh yeah, this is Molten Core's just an easy one. Wait until Blackwing Lair. They're really going to struggle."
Taking on to the point of that as well. So from the subjective point of view, I mean, I didn't play Classic. What are you talking about? I played a little bit of Classic, and just from like the general gameplay was different, and I still found it. I found it a bit enjoyable, even though I was just like going into the Barrens and bashing Planestriders in the face. It had an element that I have missed in WoW for a while, which was kind of cool. I couldn't tell you what it is exactly. You could probably speculate for a while. But yeah, no, Classic does have something that some of the other games, that some of the other expansions going forward don't, and I agree with that. I would say that World of Warcraft as a whole, not just on raiding, but in general, overall has improved over time. The only thing I think that they have lost is the RPG element of it, which I want back, personally.
In what regard?
In what regard? So, I mean, like, okay. So one of the ones is, so I think one of the big factors is more feeling wise. So when you
say Nyloth and Mythic wasn't on PTR for raiders to test, every single boss was tested on the PTR with the exception of N'Zoth the Corrupt.
Yeah. So I take this from like a feeling kind of view. So when in Classic, you could get a group together, you could go and raid a dungeon or a cave, in which case, and you could go and kill a dragon and get loot from it, and you felt like an adventurer. That to me and to many people is like a core of like RPG. That's like an action. That's RPG right there. So that feeling is kind of gone because we are now literally gods, where we slay demons, old gods, monsters. Whether we're side by side with whoever, we're basically slaying like the strongest of dragons, gods of nightmare, the kings of the dead. And I want to bring it back down a bit because eventually, I think when we were talking about a ceiling earlier, there's a ceiling with that as well. There's a power ceiling. When you're literally a god, it's boring. A good example of like just from a technical point of view, from a systems point of view, when you have your own private server of World of Warcraft, which people use for machinima and whatever back in the day, I use them. Don't shoot me, Blizz. But I use them for the machinima purposes. But when you literally can go, okay, I've just spawned myself Thunder Fury, spawned myself really cool gear, I can kill Ragnaros in one hit. You literally get bored in 5 minutes because it's boring. It's boring being so powerful. And so that's the feeling I get with the characters now. We're all just so powerful, we can kill anything. I want to bring it back down a little.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one of the problems with that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the problems that you have with that.
Yeah.
Is you are saying that at the moment you feel, the bosses are too easy, you feel too powerful when you're doing the bosses.
I don't feel the bosses are too easy. Don't misquote me on that one. The bosses are difficult. If I did a normal raid or maybe a heroic raid, I don't know where I stand on that one. But let's say, for example, mythic dungeons, for example. Yes, they're hard because they're meant to be, and I like that sort of element. Same with normal / heroic raids, which is I'm keeping it in my range here. I'm not going mythic. But if we're going there, no, they don't feel easy. But I feel as though the position my character is in feels as though like he can literally kill anything, and that's what it feels like.
Okay. So is part of an RPG progression?
Yes, correct.
Okay. If you had worked on your character for 15 years, and at this point you were at the same level as you were 15 years ago, would that be no progression? Wouldn't that be boring?
I think there's a way to progress, but it doesn't always have to be constantly upwards until you're a god. Because then everything else becomes really redundant. For example, we've just got... So let's go from Legion into BFA. We've just literally gone and fought off the forces of Argus, the Burning Legion, the strongest of the strongest, and we've just dropped back down into Azeroth, and we're fighting off Sand Trolls and Vol'dun and Kultira soldiers, and they're putting up a fight against us. That shouldn't be the case. So the power imbalance is like incredible at most. Like, if we're doing this progression, we should literally be slicing through them in one go. Like we should be challenged by pirate captains and these trolls who think they're, even Zul, for example, shouldn't even be a scratch to us compared to what we've done, but yet he is. So the power imbalance is a bit weird as well. It's like, okay, if you're gonna be a god, then you be a god. But you can't say, I am also a god, but also these trolls who've been on Zandalar their entire lives.
At no point are you ever shown to be a god.
No. Okay, so god is obviously, I'm exaggerating a little. But with the amount of power you've got, we are at least demigods in terms of the amount of power we've displayed through what we survived. You couldn't say that it's just a normal mortal champion that survived everything that we have. So if canonically we go, our character's gone through this, I guess that's up to Blizzard to say if it is or not. Then we would be close to demigods.
Here's one of the problems that Blizzard have faced, okay? Is if you think about everything that we have done, there is realistically, if you were to kind of look at it, a real world equivalent. There is an equivalent of people that have done things in real life that are considered far and above anything they should be able to manage. So that, therefore, they've already gone well above that. Now, if we have canonically, where, mythic raids are often seen as the canonical version, you're not doing this by yourself. You are the best of the best. Most of the time, you're getting lucky. 9 times out of 10, you are, being really, really, you're being sort of like this pushed forward by everyone else around you as well. So at no point are you ever shown to be a god. 9 times out of 10 with stuff like this, if it is somebody that is outside of your quote unquote, if you are the best sort of person for the job, in this raid, you are with somebody else. So
the Expendables, is it? The Expendables? We're doing Expendables?
Potentially.
So, they're all a team, but they're all great at what they do. They're all together. Expendables.
So Tyrion against Arthas. Arthas wiped the floor with us.
Yeah.
Without Thrall, Deathwing would have wiped the floor with us. Without the help of Grom, Khadgar, and Yrel, we wouldn't have been able to have beaten Archimonde. there's always been somebody there to help us. We had the help of the Pantheon when we killed Argus. We are not these supposed demigods. We are very powerful, as we have been, but by ourselves, we're not anything realistically special. And that is where I think people fail to understand it. It's very similar to, at this point in time, it's you can have somebody who is a fantastic Marine. Say, for example, you've got someone who's in the SAS. They're top of their range and everything like that. In a group, they can do godlike things on the battlefield. But if you put them into a fight against someone from the Marines, who's also at the top of the Marines level, does that mean the person who's the SAS guy is going to stomp it? No, it doesn't. It's the same sort of level.
I would say the person with more experience would. But that's sort of my sort of thing is you say that people get a little bit confused about, what we've done and what we have, for all being there, blah, 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 blah. Okay. But consider that we've been through all these experiences time and time again. We have gone through a lot to consider us just been lucky all that time. Which is so
it seems really odd because you're asking for RPG elements to be in the game and then asking for RPG elements to not be in the game.
No.
There has to be a progression level. If you want expansions, you can't turn around and say, right, this expansion ended here. We now must stay at this level and continue on upwards. Because if that's the case, then there's never going to be any expansions.
Well, the thing is,
we would just go boss, game over.
Let's say we jumped from Pandaria to Kulturas and Zuldazar. What is saying we needed to be stronger to do Zuldazar and Kulturas from Pandaria? Nothing.
Who says we are?
But of course we are, because we've literally just gone to the Legion planet, survived and come back. Whether Illidan and whoever else was with us or not, we've basically been there, been into the heart of the literally most dangerous place you could be in, and you were still alive.
Your mistake here is comparing numbers in game to what they represent. The numbers in game, we could have stayed at level 60 we could have stayed at level 1. We could have stayed at level 1. Gear could have stayed at level 1. That doesn't change the fact that what the numbers, realistically, when you're talking about canonical experience of our characters and our skill, yes, maybe 1 to 60 makes sense. Outside of that, it's arbitrary. There's no real need for them.
I see what you mean, but the numbers sort of do count. Like, I don't want them to, honestly, I don't, but it's part of the game. But they do count, though, because they have to.
Why?
Why? Because, if we're talking about the RPG elements are in the game, as you say, and you say, I want to bring RPG elements back in, and you say, maybe I want to take them out. So if RPG elements are in the game, that includes the numbers. That means the numbers are counted when it comes to going to Argus, doing that and the other, and leveling up. It does count because that's part of the RPG elements. So they're already in the game. So it does count, but what I'm saying is that they need to... I'm not saying get rid of them. When I say bring it back, I mean let's have a bit more semblance of balance. So, for example, like I've said in previous shows, Shadowlands, we're going back to 60. Yes, that's just a numbers thing. However, canonically, you could say, if we are going to the land of the dead, that all the power and the skill that we've garnished over the years means nothing because we're going into the afterlife. So, basically, our... as strong as we became once we hit level 60, which was just, heroes, not champions, that's how we're going into Shadowlands with, which I'd like to, even if it's not canonical, I'd like to think, and I'd like to feel canonically that's what we got. Because if we go back to level 60 as champions and then get help from the Covenants, that's basically like us going, yeah, we're weaker, however, we're getting help from these others, which kind of give us a bit of a leg up.
Okay. In MMO, so for example, RPG, you say that you want, you want to become more powerful. Lee, I think, mentioned earlier that getting, it felt good getting a weapon. So realistically, why does it feel good to get that weapon?
Well,
So say for example you get a new weapon that increases your damage by plus 10, for example. We use a very, very basic thing, plus 10.
Yeah.
Why does that, you know, but why does that feel good?
Because
what makes that feel good?
Sense of achievement, progression.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that necessarily have to rely on the canonical skill of your character? Or is it just a case of this is your character's new weapon now?
Does that rely on when you say the canonical skill, do you mean...
So, when you level from 1 to... So, in the game, you level from 1 to 60.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
You then turn around and you go on and face the Lich, you know, you face Ragnos and then the Fairy and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And to play the game,
yep,
as any RPG, there has to be an increase in numbers. Otherwise, there is no sense of progression. It just feels flat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
There has to be at some point a separation between our canonical skill as characters versus our skill versus the physical numbers that you see, because otherwise there is never going to be an end. Otherwise you would never ever be able to do a stat squish. You would never ever be able to do, and the problem you have is the reason why the stat squishes feel so low is because we associate these numbers with this is how powerful I am. You can't have if you're going to do it in a world where we have to feel more powerful after we face a boss, because that is how progression works. You can physically never have expansions. You could only do bosses, because you would then turn around and you would say, okay, last time I killed the Lich King, why would I bother going to any of these places here? Why would I bother going and helping the dwarfs? I just killed the Lich King. I'm just going to go and beat the shit out of Deathwing. You have to have a disconnect. Otherwise, if you focus too much on this, you lose out on a lot of the stuff that goes on in the expansions. You have to take a step back and say, yes, okay, I killed the Lich King, but that doesn't mean that I am now this all-powerful god that should be one-shotting everything around me, unless they are also a boss.
After everything we've done, though, that's what it feels like. Because we've literally and canonically this has been yearly. Like, there's been 2 years of an expansion at most. We have literally just gone from killing the Lich King to killing Deathwing to going to Pandaria and killing like Shah agents of, like, you know, Yasaj, okay, from helping to bring down Garrosh the Warchief as he's corrupted, to going to Draenor and taking on the old warlords. That one is sort of the most balanced in a way when it comes to the warlords, because that's sort of kind of a bit more in the realms of power. It kind of drops a bit down a bit. But then we come back out and go into Legion and then demons, blah, 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 blah.
Who would you say is more powerful? Lich King?
Mm-hmm.
When we fought him in Wrath of the Lich, in Wrath?
Yeah. Arthur's the Lich King, yeah.
Or Garrosh at the end of Mr. Pandaria?
Lich King.
Okay. So why was Garrosh more difficult?
Did we fight Garrosh?
Yeah, at the end of Mr. Pandaria.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Pandaria. Sorry, mine was linked on Warlord. Sorry, no. So if we're talking about that, then no, it would be Garrosh because he was empowered by the old god. Sorry. I thought, for some reason, my mind was like Grommash, and I'm like, but we didn't fight Grommash. No, you made Garrosh, right?
So you would say that Garrosh would be more powerful than Arthas?
With the Heart of Yasaj, yes. Without the Heart of Yasaj, no.
Okay. So yeah, it's one of those problems where he isn't. If you look at the actual skill set that you see that's presented in canon, there is no way he should be more powerful. But because of the progression system, he is presented as more powerful. Because that's what the numbers determine. Like, for example, would you say that us taking on Ner'zhul, should Ner'zhul be more difficult than, say, I don't know, Deathwing? Okay, that's probably not the best way to come. So let's go with the Fel Reaver, second boss of Hellfire Citadel. Should that be more powerful than Death?
Should the Fel Reaver be more powerful than Deathwing?
In the Fel Annihilator,
No.
the second boss of Hellfire Citadel in Warlords of Draenor.
No.
Numbers determine he is.
Yeah, numbers determine he is. However, then he should be easier for us.
But it's the same level. That's what I'm saying. There has to be a disconnect.
Well, the thing is that you say, for example, when you brought up Garrosh and the Lich King, the Garrosh being not, you say Garrosh shouldn't be stronger than the Lich King. However, I do believe empowered Garrosh would easily be able to crush Ashbringer Tyrion.
It would probably be fairly even. I mean, happily saying guilds have completed end content in 10 days. They have. They are massive outliers. The guilds that have cleared Nyalotha are,
the top end guilds.
They're less than 1% of the player base.
Yeah.
I mean, to give you an idea of the classic Blackwing Lair, people saying, well, they've had time to practice, they've had time to do this, they are going into this. They've had time to practice. They've had gear from Molten Core.
Yeah.
But the itemization is still pretty terrible, and it's classes don't have the skill and ability that they do now. The abilities are much they're much more stifled. The skill level not the skill level, but the classes themselves don't have as many skills as they do now. You still have ranks, for God's sake. Now, one of the more difficult bosses in Blackwing Lair is Veilstraz the Corrupted. Veilstraz the Corrupted was seen as a heavy DPS check, a really big healing healing check as well, and you even had buffs that you gained to help deal with how difficult this boss was. Guilds would quite often go in with 3 or 4 tanks because there was a tank dot that just flat out killed you in 3 minutes. There was a real issue with it, and a lot of people before it happened were kind of seeing Veilstraz as this roadblock of classic, people going through. They were thinking, this is going to be really, really difficult. Veilstraz was killed in 32 seconds. Veilstraz as I understand that people are saying, oh, they've had 15 years to test, they've had 15 years to do everything. Doesn't matter how long you've had. If you go into a raid that, you're realistically going in potentially not quite as geared as you should be. I understand that's probably completely wrong because people have had those 15 years to min-max and say this blue is better than this, this blue is better than this epic because of the way that the stats work and everything. It died in 32 seconds.
So
they didn't even see one tank dead. There was a quote on Reddit, and I'm going to read this to you, okay? And I want everyone to listen because I cannot see this. I can't read this and understand why people would say the progression rating system in Blackwing Lair is better than it is in, retail. So they said, I had so much fun in Blackwing Lair tonight. We wiped twice on Veil and barely beat him by a hair on attempt number 3. Then we wiped twice on Trash and the Suppression Room. Then we wiped on Broodlord and then we downed him. Then we did an attempt on Firemore, but wiped, and we'll be back for vengeance. This is the progression rating that I was yearning for. In retail, if you went in to a mythic raid and you weren't a top edge, guild,
retail mythic raid,
even the top edge guilds didn't have anything close to this. If you wiped twice, if you killed the first boss one shot, wiped twice and then killed it on a third one, wiped once and killed the fourth one the next attempt, and if you did that in a mythic raid now, the complaints would be through the roof. And it is impossible to compare them. I'm not necessarily comparing the raids and saying this is more difficult than this. It's more a case of the way that this is the progression raiding that I was yearning for. Seems to me that this person is suggesting as though this is somehow better than retail's progression raiding. with the exception of Nyalotha, all of the cutting-edge mythic guilds have all gone on record as saying that the raids that they have been producing and the fights that WoW have been doing have been better than anything they've ever done. They have been surpassing each other every single time. Now, obviously, we've got the issue of BOEs, master loot to personal loot. That's, you know, that's an entirely separate problem in and of itself. But I don't understand how people can turn around and say, yes, classic WoW, this is the progression system I'm yearning for, when in 44 minutes, the progression system is over.
So, honestly, guys, as we don't want to like stick on one subject for too long.
No, let's talk more about it.
Hush your mouth. You've had enough to say. If you guys want to get involved in this discussion, obviously we cannot squeeze everything in on the show in 2 hours, including everything in chat. We try and get to you as soon as we can. But if you want to talk,
we could probably get in 2.5 runs through Blackwing Lair.
If you want to discuss this more with us, or if you have your own opinion, because we will be moving on subjects in just a second, then please join our Discord, and you can come into the You Think You Do But You Don't chat room, and by all means chat up a storm. Come and argue with Kexman if you want, and come and chat with myself. It's all good.
If you wish to die.
If you wish to have a debate, by all means, yes, come and join our Discord. Come to You Think You Do But You Don't room, and we'll have a chat. We'll talk about stuff about, you know, about who's wrong and who's right. That's exactly what this show's about. But anyway, because we could honestly probably talk about this for the rest of the show, I have no doubt. I'm going to move us on because you want to talk about the new news about MDI Esports. Is that correct? Doing MDI Esports in one?
Yes.
In one thing, yeah. Go on then. Go on then, sir.
So obviously, they released the new news about the MDI. They're doing a slightly different bracket this time. For those of you that are unaware, the MDI stands for the Mythic Dungeon Invitational. It's one thing that they have been doing the past couple of years, obviously with Mythic Dungeons. They have been, they've been thoroughly entertaining. People running through high keystones. Obviously, you know, there's a lot of stuff that they can do in regards to what paths they take, what bosses they kill, what ads they take on. There's a lot of thinking involved, and it is a very, very high sort of like skill cap for this. I believe Method Orange EU, they were the winners of the latest Mythic Dungeon Invitational at BlizzCon. They also won the PvP tournament there as well. So Method swept all of the WoW esports at BlizzCon, which was pretty impressive in 2019. The one big, well, there's a couple of big changes and a couple of things we're not sure about. It is, they are now not going to be streamed on Twitch.
Kind of
we
sucks.
I am unsure, kind of on the fence. I believe that we will see an upswing. So what we've heard, and we're going to find out a lot more on Tuesday from the Technically PvP guys, because they do actually have an interview with David Hollings live on Twitch.
Yeah, make sure to check out Technically PvP guys. Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
on Thursdays. Is that
Kexman?
Kexman?
Miss that. Tuesdays.
Technically PvP
Tuesdays.
here on this channel. Hit the follow button. Don't miss it.
Yes. On this channel. If you join our Discord as well, you will also get the chance potentially to put your questions to David Hollings, and they're going to talk obviously about the Mythic Dungeon Invitational news. We're going to break down some news here. I just noticed my PTR has been downloading something for Warcraft.
Oh,
that's usually what they use for alphas.
Ooh. Don't place false hope. Just let us hold that 1 second, Mr. Kexman. You will hold that right there. You will hold that thought right there, sir. You continue. Don't play. Yes, exactly. That's what Ralph says. Don't play with his feelings.
All I'm saying is, I just saw a little thing pop down. World of Warcraft.
You didn't say the magic word. Come on then. Let's continue. Continue your thought.
The big one is it's now not on Twitch. It is now playing on YouTube.
Hope the first step to disappointment. He's not wrong.
Exactly. They're currently being on YouTube. Now, a lot of people don't like this. I am honestly, I'm quite happy with it. I feel as though YouTube is, so from what we've gathered, it is a 3-year deal, and they have managed to. How am I getting more quiet?
I don't know. Trust me. Like, literally, I am here all the time adjusting him when he goes quiet to push him up, and then putting him back down when he goes loud. I'm doing it throughout the entire show.
I have no idea what it is.
I try my best.
Checking all of my settings.
We know it's a problem. We just can't fix it.
It's ridiculous. I have tried everything. Unless someone wants to pay money to get me a new microphone that is good.
Get yourself a new mic.
Yeah, because I have the money for that. The big thing, I think, is that, download definitely started. Thank you. Ixo saw it as well. YouTube is a big project for Blizzard. They have effectively got a 3-year deal that features all of the Blizzard esports. So Hearthstone, the 2 WoW ones, and Overwatch. It is based around, they believe, $160 million, which is relatively cheap.
Someone said, yeah, was it Garrison that said that was quite cheap? I think it was.
Yeah, however,
or see it, yeah.
YouTube have given a lot of, they've given a lot of value for advertising and such like that. So there's quite a high level of advertising opportunity for Blizzard that they are going to be using, which will get them money back from that as well.
I would agree that is also quite cheap, by the way. For what you're buying, like, it's not like, give me that money, sure, yeah, I'd love that, but like for what they're buying, yeah, that is rather low.
For Twitch, it is. So here's the difference between Twitch and YouTube. Twitch, I believe, it still has a quote-unquote stigma around it as the big gamer streaming thing. A lot of people aren't going to just browse. There are a lot more people generally browsing YouTube than there are Twitch.
Yeah. In general, yeah, of course.
So the move to YouTube makes sense because you're going to see more eyes on the product.
They definitely need to still improve it, though, because we went there yesterday. Oh, not yesterday. A few days ago with Dunkirk. And we just tried to go to the... Yeah, we went to YouTube. The actual studio and everything. No, but we went on there and I never search for the live stuff on YouTube, right? I never search for the live streaming stuff. So for the first time ever, Dunker was like, come and see if you can find this. I was like, okay. So I went in there, tried to find Overwatch, and it's such a trawl to get to where you want to get to. So once you get to the live streaming services and get to the Overwatch page, not only do you have the first row of links videos, not the live videos, just videos. The second row then is live, like, services going on, and then the third row is more videos again, like already uploaded videos. So
I didn't have that problems. I just went to YouTube, Overwatch League. First thing that popped up was a live video.
Myself and Dunkirk saw the exact same thing. Yeah, 2 out of 3. Basically, the row of when you look for, it's basically like bringing up the same category as when you're on Twitch. You click browse and you go, oh, I'll see what World of Warcraft streams on. Then you just get rows and rows and rows of people. It was like that, except the first row was videos, second row was live, third row was more videos. That's how it was displayed. They need to fix that if they want to do this. They just need just give the display something extremely similar to Twitch, just like category, click, here's all the live things. Don't put videos up there. Videos, if people want to go look for videos, take the videos out of the live thing, because if people click, they want to see the live services, you don't need videos in there, because if they want to see videos, they go search videos.
We will see get better over time.
It needs to be.
It will happen.
Yeah, you weren't just browsing, you were specifically looking for it. Yeah, I suppose, yeah. We were just going through like a natural route.
It will get better over time. It will happen as they kind of figure out exactly how they're going to present it. I wouldn't be surprised if we did see something along the lines of whenever it was live, it would appear on your homepage regardless. It would make sense.
Yeah.
Because it's such a big thing for them. But the Mythic Dungeon, so the biggest change for the Arena Championships and the Mythic Dungeon Invitationals, that is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
We're having a slightly different split as well. So the regions are split EU/Asia, and that encompasses Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Korea, China, and Taiwan. And then we have the Americas division, which encompasses the Americas, obviously, South and North America, Australia, and New Zealand, which is, it's a good split. It covers pretty much the globe in half. We're having yeah, exactly. So the MDI season, it's going through a couple of changes. It's going to have, from what we can see, it looks as though the Shadowlands season is going to be starting up the second half of the year. So that means that unless they announce something specifically for Shadowlands, which I'd be very, very surprised considering Shadowlands will only be a couple of months old, we're not going to have the finals take place at BlizzCon. They're actually going to be an in-person LAN that the finals are taking place. We do know the prize pools. So we have $300,000 is the prize pool for the Mythic Dungeon Invitational.
And now is that supplied by Blizzard or by people actually donating?
That is supplied by Blizzard. That's been proven supplied by Blizzard.
Okay.
The Arena World Championships has a prize pool of $500,000.
Hello, Ridian.
Hello, Ridian. How's it going? So it looks like, we're not going to see grand finals in this, or at least for this season at BlizzCon 2020.
Oh, well.
Possible that because Shadowlands is going to release kind of near BlizzCon, I suppose, if the rumored dates of the tail end of
before BlizzCon, Kexman, before. If BlizzCon is in October, before.
Maybe we'll see. I'm thinking, there might be like some exhibition style events, which is quite good. Now, the one thing that I desperately want to talk about in regards to
desperate.
The one thing that I want to talk in regards to these is, at no point have they addressed corruption. Now,
I mean,
it's very, very odd.
It's going through our society. It's terrible. And just oh, you mean the WoW system?
We live in a society. No. So it's really weird that they have this corruption mechanic, which is making some really big changes to a lot of classes. It's affecting a lot of things. You look at
like Dunkirk
race, and look at him right now. It's terrible.
I know, he's a wreck.
It's massively affecting the race to world first, because they need to, balance. They were making balance changes, or trying to, until community outrage stopped them. Trying to make corruption changes mid reset week, and they were trying to add ridiculous things on for corruption in regards to this corruption now all of a sudden does double damage than what it used to. If that's if they don't address that, it's going to cause issues. We are going to see people going into, or specific groups, the meta, which has been heavily the meta of Mythic Dungeon Invitationals has always been a very, very big part of how they play. I would be mind blown if they don't get into a position where they say we have to set a cap on how much corruption you can have. I think we will see people that will play around with corruption in a specific way. If they don't do that, that will almost trivialize a lot of encounters, or it will be the exact opposite, and guilds will run with a lot of RNG based things. So they'll go in and they say, if this manages to proc at this point, I know for a fact that
I'll do 1 million damage.
Yeah, we'll be able to blast this boss down in X amount of time. If it doesn't, we die. But we know that the other team are running it as well. So it's a massive risk reward.
Just watch both teams just wipe.
Yeah, exactly. You could see both teams pull the same boss at the same time, and then. But the problem is, you could also see one team kill the boss in 30 seconds and move on to the next one,
while the other dies.
The other guys don't. And that, I think, is where I think with raiding it's slightly different, because it's as Ian said in the interview that Athelos did. If you haven't seen it, check it out on YouTube. The race to world first is not an esport. It isn't
no.
This is where you start, this is where you end, these are your parameters, go. That's what you find with esports. This is where you start. This is where you end. These are your parameters. You're facing off against another team on your way. This is when the raid releases. It's the first person to clear it. It's a community-based event, and it's grown massively. The guys at Limit, the complexity the complexity building in Texas, Method in Germany, they've all done fantastic jobs. But it is never going to be an esport. This is something that is structured. This is something that is, very much a case of this is where you start, this is where you end, this is what you need to do.
Is MDI done with the character templates, Ask Rav?
I don't think so. They might do. The one thing they've always done is everyone will be scaled to a certain item level, and they can kind of pick and I think they can choose their characters. I would much rather be in a position where in the perfect world, this is how I would like to see the Mythic Dungeon Invitational done, and this is something I'm definitely going to ask of David come Tuesday on Technically PvP. The Mythic Dungeon Invitational, I feel, should the less RNG you have in there, the better. So RNG based around bosses' abilities, that's fine. That's part and parcel of the dungeon. Any sort of ability that is done by bosses or ads that are involved in there, or the affixes you have, that is part and parcel. You see that on retail, that is fine. The same with people's abilities and procs, that's fine. They can build up their own corruption if they wish. However, I would like to see a cap put on corruption, whether it is at 60, and I believe Gingy on Twitter also mentioned this as well. Noah DK mentioned it, and Gingy mentioned it as well, both from Method. And Gingy mentioned 60 corruption as a cap. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Because then you have a position where it introduces a few different gearing ideas. You go, okay, do I want to blow all my corruption on this one piece of gear? Or do I want to have 2 or 3 smaller bits of corruption that get me up to 60, but I have a couple of different effects going on?
Ever since the changes to the corrupted gear, I think maybe people would opt in for like multiple, because there's not really one strong one now anymore, I don't think.
I believe so. There are a couple, but it's
nothing like it was. Yeah.
I would. So that's one change. That's one thing I'd like to see them introduce. 60 corruption. Yes, you still have an RNG based element, but it's nowhere near as ridiculous as it could be.
Yeah.
You could have people running 300 corruption, turning around and saying, "Yeah, I one-shot bosses, but if I get hit by anything, I'm dead." Which isn't going to work in an MDI.
No, of course.
The other thing I would like to see, and I don't know whether they would ever implement this because it seems like it would be too much. I would like to see a implementation of some form of banning role. So you could turn around. One thing we've seen in MDIs is there are a lot of the same sort of meta. So one meta gets chosen for that sort of MDI, and almost every single team will have that. You'll see it'll be one warrior tank, a shaman healer, or monk healer, and then 2 rogues and a hunter, or whatever it was, or and it was the same for every single team. Now individual skill comes down to it, but what I would like to see is some sort of ban sort of template implemented, where you could turn around and each team could turn and say, right, okay, this class is this, or Blizzard or whoever could turn around and say, right, this class is banned for this round, so no more rogues in this. So people have to adapt to that and turn around and say, right, okay, we have to. People have to be good at various different roles. If you've got 2 rogues in your team, you've got to be prepared for that ban.
I don't know.
If it's like this heat, so
it might be a bit too much, maybe.
It may be a bit too much, but I would like to see it so we have at least some form of variety.
I know why you want it. It's because I tell you why this is, right? Here we go, folks. This is why Kexman wants this. It's because there was, I don't remember what season it was, but during an esports season in Overwatch, there was a meta where they would just play, each team, and no matter what team it was, would play the same the same 6 heroes over and over and over. Every team would play the same meta, and it was extremely boring to watch the same 6 heroes fight and go no variation. Now this has...
It wasn't just a season.
This has in turn traumatized Kexman, and upon bringing it up, it can cause him to panic and probably hit the nearest squirrel. However, this is why he wants to implement bans in this sort of thing. You don't need to cross over to World of Warcraft though, Kex. World of Warcraft is different enough that you don't need it though.
It is different, but I feel if they want to implement a Overwatch PTSD, that's basically what I've got.
Kex doesn't even play it, and he's like, Tracer.
If they want to bring a sense of quote unquote excitement to these esports, and they want to have the eyes on it, I feel as though, and Goats was, so what I would do is I'd go, right, okay, I'm gonna watch some Overwatch League, and I'd watch for 45 minutes to an hour. I'd watch a couple of matches, and I'd go, okay, this is fun, this is good. And then I go, okay, a bit bored of seeing the same things now. Same things are happening. This is really annoying. And then I'd stop watching. And then I'd go back a week later and I'd get 5 minutes in. I'd go, this is the exact same thing I saw a week ago. Mm-hmm. Why would I want to watch this? Why would I want to sit through this again?
A good example of keeping things fresh is just out of left field, by the way, but it works. The League of Legends Esports one, because although you've got more and more champions being added and there are some strong ones, the strengths and weaknesses with some buffs and nerfs through different seasons, even during the seasons, rolled through, so you saw a myriad of different metas being used all the time. So it was never the same ones, but the same would be said for them. If they use the same characters every single time, it'd be the exact same thing. It would be boring. It really would.
And it's not quite as endemic in the MDI. There are definitely teams that will play different things. Yeah. But there is always a meta. Yeah. And I wouldn't mind there being something where it was a case of, or maybe not, maybe it doesn't happen every round. Maybe it happens, once per match, where it's like, okay, for this one, you are going into Shrine of Storms. These are your affixes. You don't have this class available to you. How do you work around that? And whilst I think for the players it would be pretty potentially rough, but I feel as though, and I'm not saying obviously they get good at every single class.
Did you just read Raz's message?
I have a 120 priest. I have
which
a 120
you barely
priest.
Play. Couldn't exactly heal a mythic, could you?
Imagine if they banned warrior. Well, that's why I'm not being in the MDI, really, isn't it? They do get themselves into a position where it is, there has to be some form of, and I understand why metas are meta. There's a reason for it. But I feel as though the players that are in the MDI are good enough where they could play 2 or 3 classes. And this isn't something where you ban something just for the sake of it. You don't just go, okay, everyone's using rogue, ban rogues. It's more a case of you could just have, just a little bit of to break up the meta. I'm a firm believer in breaking up the meta not being a bad idea.
Okay.
And I think those are the 2 things. Also, well, specs. I mean, you could do specs. But there are certain things that classes do. For example, rogues are very, very powerful for stuff like stealth and cheat death.
No resto specs, go.
No resto specs, go.
Now that would be a challenge.
This team must consist entirely of druids. Go.
Okay, stack lifesteal gear, guys. Just stack lifesteal.
Yeah. I feel as though that would. So those are the 2 things for this season. I would specifically like to see is a cap on corruption. Because the less RNG that you can have in the MDI, the better. MDI should realistically be exclusively skill. And if you turn around and you start adding corruption to it, it gets a little bit ridiculous. Sure. I would then also, the whole being able to ban a class or, maybe something to break up the meta that generally evolves, I'd like to see as well. Yeah. That one's a little bit more extreme than the corruption one, but that is what I would like to see for the MDI.
Only Druid wokes pretty well. I know that's supposed to be works, but I want to say only Druid is woke.
Or woks. They're very good at Chinese cooking.
That's very true. Only Druids is woke AF. Anyway, we will. If you want to, if you've got any last things to say about that case, please do. We will be having a very, very, very short break before we move on to our last subject, which will easily last for the remainder of the show. But
I'd also like to point out, Rav's making a point of skilled at playing this one class. The people that are playing in the MDI, there is no way they have got to that level of playing just with one class.
No, that's true. But imagine if you had Kungun there, and they're like, "Yeah, Warrior's a ban for this one." Everyone, like people watching, would be like, "Oh, well, he's not going to be playing Warrior. What he's known for."
But okay, congratulations. But we're not here to watch Kungun play on his Warrior. We're here to watch the MDI. You will have plenty of opportunities. I'm not saying that every single time this is banned. This isn't something akin to like a Heroes of the Storm or League ban where it's like, oh, that person's really good on that class. We're going to pick against that and ban them from it, or that we're going.
No, it's worse because the class pool in WoW is extremely limited.
It is, it is, but it's not something that is controlled. So it's not a case of, oh, this person's really good on their rogue, we're going to ban that.
Oh no, but it's still, there's still some detriments to it. There isn't an all good thing.
There are some detriments, but realistically, if you have nothing but rogues, and again, that's not necessarily the correct analogy, Rav, because that's only one role. Again, these people in the MDI, they are not stuck to one role. It's like the people in cutting edge guilds with world first mythic raiding. Yes, Sko is very, very good on his, he was very good on his warrior, but he's also very good on his monk. He's also very good on his blood death knights. Scripe is very, very good on his mage, but he's also got a priest. There's various different things that, alongside that. Max for limit, very, very good on his monk. He's got a fantastic monk, but he's also very, very good at death knight. You can't compare it because it would be more like turning around and saying, okay, this person who is a striker now has to play midfielder. They're still competent, but it's not their best thing. The classes are slightly different. You say that there's not as many classes. Again, yes, but if you've got two rogues in one group, which happened regularly in the MDI, you ban rogues, you still have warrior, Death Knight, Druid.
Yeah, you got all of them, but I just think it'd be better if you just didn't. Honestly, I think the bans would just be completely irrelevant. You just take people off classes they want to play, and
that's a fallacy.
What?
Not necessarily they want to play.
You don't know that.
They have to play because it's that. No, there are people who have played in the MDI before that have turned around and said, I don't like playing this class.
Okay, and there are some that do.
Because it's the best. Okay, that's fine.
But then, they're not going to be playing on a class because they hate it to have it banned and go, hey, I get to play one that's not as good. Like, that, no one's going to say that. No, why would they say that? if they're in the MDI to, put this through, because they want to win, right? They're going to want to win this. Now they're going to go, hey, so I'm going to play one that's not going to be as effective. Woo. They're not going to say that. It's going to be, wow, that's been banned. That's going to give us a worse shot. I mean, it'll give the other team a worse shot, but I'm very more confident about that. I'm going to do better than the other team. But now my chances have been skewed.
I'm very confused at what Rav has just said.
But then that impedes the skill thing, because if they are more skilled at playing one class than the other, the opponent is the opponent is the opposite, and then it stops the skill thing. Yeah. So basically, if they're really, really good at playing rogue, and they're only semi-okay at playing a Death Knight, for example, and on the other team, they're actually good at playing Rogue, but then they're amazing on the Death Knight, that sort of then switches it over. So it gives the other team the advantage. I see what he means on that.
Exactly their skill.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that impede on the skill thing? If you're saying this could happen based on their skill, how is that stopping the skill? That's literally what it is. What I'm saying is it should be a case that, you take away the RNG of corruption, you take away potentially the RNG of various different things alongside those.
I just think this banning stuff is stupid. I think this is overcomplicating things personally. Like, if like, I think Rav said it at the very start before you even got into the banning thing. It's like, they've not done it before. I don't see why they would implement it now because it works. I think it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, I think, like, interesting idea, but I don't think it'll just overcomplicate things. It really does seem to be.
Rav saying stopping from using their skills to their full extent. Would you not say that someone being able to play multiple classes at a skillful level is better than them essentially being forced to play one class because it is considered part of the meta? Surely if they can play more classes at a higher skill level, that means they're more skillful.
But that also would mean that they're forced to play another class that they might not like because they can't play the initial one, which they might actually find even worse.
But they're still skillful at it.
Yeah, but they might find it worse. So basically, this banning thing is just causing problems. You're like, it's basically, yeah, but they could, or but though. It's like, or it could just be shit. Like, it honestly could just cause a lot of problems. It has a ripple effect of issues. It's like, if this happens, you can get around it by doing this. Okay, but if this happens, you can get around doing this. You can sort of have some get-arounds, but it just makes it very convoluted, and it doesn't need to be, is what we're kind of saying. Like, as I said, I say it's an interesting idea. I'm not dismissing it completely, but I think it will just honestly make a lot more just issues than it would be to make it interesting. Personally, I think, like, so Jeff's idea of the banning in the Overwatch League is sort of interesting.
Every single group run the exact same composition on every single map, and that will be more interesting.
Have they done that before with MDIs?
Yes.
Have people watched?
Not really.
No, they have. They've watched, and basically that's how it's worked.
Not as much as they wanted them to.
Well, it still worked. So again, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's the whole thing. But I think it would just cause a lot more issues. Anyway, so we're going to take a break here. We will be back, and we're going to be switching on to another subject of dream bosses. What dream boss do you want to see in Shadowlands? If you could have any boss, yeah, if you could have any boss in Shadowlands, well, you can be as outlandish as possible if you want. Screw it. Screw the rules. We have money. I wish. Then, think about it. If you can dream it, then we'll make it happen. Anyway, we will see you on the other side, guys. It'll only be a very short break, so if you need to pee or anything, just go quick. Go quick.
Oh, finally. Some free time. Hey, guys.
Pride, where have you been all day? The race to world first is insane this patch.
Well, I mean, I woke up this morning, went to work, came home.
Farseer, what in Sorfang's name are you eating?
Everything.
Bread.
So I've just
The hell
been
are
too
you
busy
eating
to
bread
keep up
for?
with the
Did you
race.
not cook anything?
Okay, we'll go to
But I did cook
warcraftradio.com/RWF and check out the latest kill video.
Whoa. This says, like, everything. Kill videos, recaps. Are these progress bars? Like, these are in real time?
Yeah, man, everything's up to the minute, even on mobile.
So basically, this is like the race to world first for people with zero free time.
Yeah, pretty much.
The race to world first. For those on the go. Warcraft Radio.
And lo, we return as if we just... I was going to say, what was the opposite of evaporated? Reformed in front of you, like magical pixies upon the wind. Anyway, speaking of pixies, Shadowlands.
What about it?
There are pixies in Shadowlands. In Ardenwald, yeah, Ardenwald. In the Druidic area.
We haven't had that confirmed yet, but
I'm confirming now pixies in Shadowlands. So, pixie boss? Yes? No. So, Kexman. I came up...
There's definitely fairies and fae, but I don't think there are pixies.
I think there might be pixies.
No, I don't think so. Pixies and fairies are two entirely different things.
Okay, well... Tomato, right? We're arguing semantics at this point, but basically, I had a fantastic idea. Fantastic idea earlier. It was so great that I had to basically get it ready for the show. So my idea is that into most expansions, there are usually scenarios, and into Legion there was Broken Shore, for example, and into BFA there was the Battle for Lordaeron, and they were pretty cool. They were pretty swell. Arguably one of the better parts of BFA. So we have some really cool things. Now, I thought of something. This sort of ties into the bosses. This sort of ties into the bosses. And, lore-wise, we'll have to try and connect the dots for it to make sense, but it's not too far-fetched. So, I imagined either the start of Shadowlands, right? We have to ascend Icecrown.
Okay, Before, I'd like a disclaimer. Everyone that's listening on Twitch, everyone that's listening via a podcast, Anchor, YouTube, anything like that, I apologize beforehand for whatever Farseer is about to say, as well as his butchering of the lore that is about to happen.
I am a connoisseur of the lore, sir. Shut your mouth. Anyway,
all right, then.
So we will send Icecrown. We will ascend Icecrown. Who's the one that got the question wrong during the con before the storm of what was it, Rend Blackhand when given the card?
Oh, that was me.
Yeah, that was you. Don't be. Enough said. Anyway, so where was I? Right, so basically, the start of Shadowlands, either scenario or dungeon. Now, I thought of it a different idea of being a dungeon, but let's just go with scenario for now, because we've had scenarios going into new cinematics. Let's have a scenario where we ascend Icecrown, whether you necessarily have to fight your way up there, or whether you can just make your way up there. I think fighting your way up there a little bit would be a thing, because, as we've discussed before on the show, Bolvar is not our friend. Bolvar's not a happy person. He's still, even though the Helm of Domination at this point is gone, he's still the Lich King, technically, some sort of leader of the dead, and he's not our friend. The Scourge are definitely not our friend. So, basically, if we went up through Icecrown, we would be fighting undead. It's just how it would be. So, I thought of a little scenario where you have to fight up through Icecrown, and you will reach Bolvar. And Bolvar will be mega pissed because he's just had his ass beat by Sylvanas. He's probably not in the best of moods. And now all the heroes that he told to go away and not come back have all started showing up. He's like, when the thing opened up in the sky, he's like, piss, I knew this would bloody happen. So he's probably not happy. So I thought of a really cool scenario where you would fight Bolvar because they're like, oh my god, Shadowlands, blah, 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 Sylvanas, blah, blah, blah. Somehow, because MacGuffin McGee, we always find out what's happened somehow, one way or another. It's usually Bran when it's to do with old gods. So I'm pretty sure Khadgar will be like, I was watching because I'm Khadgar, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so, okay, you're looking confused.
No, please continue. I'm sure this.
No. I'm not doing a whole bombardment of butchering at the end. You speak to me now about what your issue is, good sir.
Okay. Sylvanas has just come and beat the crap out of Bolvar.
Yep. Not 5 minutes ago, but go on, yeah.
Opened up a massive, massive portal in the sky,
yep,
shattering the roof of the world. And Bolvar probably being fairly aware of what's happened because he's seen the Helm of Domination destroyed.
Bolvar knows, yeah, he was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why in God's name would he then fight us?
Because, right?
How would we know that this had happened 5 minutes afterwards?
Okay, so we're not knowing 5 minutes afterwards. This is a little bit later. But okay,
why would he fight us?
but why would he fight us? Because he is still not our friend. We still do not belong there, and we still shouldn't be there at all, right? Like, we shouldn't be there. He's not going to be like, heroes, I'm glad you're here to save us all. He's not going to be like that. That's not who the Lich King is.
But he's also not going to be, the roof of the world has been shattered. Sylvanas has just destroyed my favourite hat. Oh, look, someone's just turned up. You prick. That's not how it's going to happen. We're going to turn up. We're going to turn up and we would go, oh, shit. There's a hole in the sky. And he's going to go, yeah, I know. Want to go and like help out stop this? He's not going to turn around and go piss off, and we go no, but piss off though. Nah, I want to go in the hole. I'll fight you then. That's not how that's going to happen.
Yeah, I reckon it will be. So basically,
the butchering of the law that doesn't even exist yet. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's not butchering. It's butchering of like one left and right decision because you disagree with me. Basically, he's still, like, we still should not be there. Roof of the World is broken, and yes, that's a problem, yes, but he still has an army at his command, and he is, there's a reason he's recruiting Death Knights, right? Like, he's basically reforming the Scourge, because that's what the Lich King does, Jailer of the Damned or not, whether it's Bolvar or Arthas. That's why new Death Knights are coming in. Lore-wise, Volpera and Pandaren and all that, canonically have been joining the Scourge, or been joining the ranks of Death Knights, right? So those Death Knights are our player characters. Yeah, they have. But there's no, like, I don't think the Ebon Blade have any ways to raise Death Knights anymore, because all the Valkyrie are either with Sylvanas or Lich King. So the only way you're raising them is either the Valkyrie are raising them,
you mean
or
the Ebon Knights that are working with the Lich King.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, it's not openly, though, are they? Like, there was the hints that it was going on during Legion, where they were taking orders from the Lich King, which came out of left field. There was no established reason why that was the case.
Yeah, he is. That's literally the reason. The Lich King contacts the Death Knights and the Ebon Blade, and he says, shit, the Burning Legion are here. We could use some 4 horsemen.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But there's no previous established stuff on that. But, there is. The last they heard from the Lich King, they were like, shit, this dude's evil. We're not going to work for him. And then all of a sudden he pops up and he's like, yeah, you're working for me again now. You think that's competent lore? Suddenly, it's fine. We'll work for him.
No, that's not how that works.
Yeah,
that's not how that went.
Yeah, it is.
No.
It is. Because that was one of Dunkirk's main complaints during Legion of there was no establishment of like from, Lich King just pops up, in your head and was just like, yeah, you need to come and craft some, like, a blade and whatever and do what I say. And they do.
You're going to take Dunkirk's word on that?
Yes, because he's right. That's what happened.
Oh, no. You've just put that on... You've just... That's... He has that. He now has a recording of you say Dunkirk is right. I hope you realise that.
Have you seen him? He's not hearing nothing. He doesn't even pay attention. He doesn't even pay attention.
Can you clip that for me? Thank you.
Anyway, so he just turns up blah blah out of the blue. And yes, there is some sort of... I don't know if there's anything happened over BFA with the Death Knights and Lich King. I don't think so. I think he went fairly quiet after that. So now all of a sudden... we're now back there. So he's got his own army, and we'll go back there. Because I think a cool intro dungeon into Shadowlands would be a fight on Icecrown. I don't know why, just a small one. Nothing like Icecrown from Wrath. Anyway, so he would be the initial one. After beating him, obviously we're not going to kill him, we're just going to beat him to show it's like, look, Bolvar, we can deal with this. Like, whether you like it or not. So then we will go up and over yonder into the Shadowlands. Now, I've made several theories about why we'd go into the Shadowlands.
Following the return of the Burning Legion, the Knights of the Ebon Blade came to an agreement with the new Lich King, Bolvar Fordragon. The Ebon Blade will willingly act as the Lich King's agents against the Legion if the Scourge remains contained to Northrend. The Lich King offers powerful weapons to champions of the Ebon Blade, directing students of Lord Thorval to the world of Niskara, and they take the Maw of the Damned. So it wasn't just out of the blue.
Yeah, it was. In game, it was. In game, before that moment in Legion where you go in, where you start the class to get your order hall, you have not heard from the Lich King at all, and he just starts speaking to you. You know when Khadgar speaks to you out of the blue when you're in Dalaran, it's like, champion, you got to meet me here, depending on what class you were. And then you go and do your artifact weapon quest. For the Death Knights, the Lich King just comes out of nowhere and is like, Death Knight champion, and just out of nowhere. There is no pre-warning, there is no pre-setup, there is no there is no Mograine going, oh yeah, we're cool with him now. You just suddenly are okay with the Lich King. And would you be surprised?
Accurate.
No, that is accurate, because would you be surprised in-game doesn't tie up all loose ends? Exactly like Theramore, where there was a lot more context to it, but in-game it hardly showed any of that. It does that several times in-game. Don't even. It does that a lot of the time. War Crimes had to tie up so many loose ends about how Warlords of Draenor even worked, because if you didn't read the book, you had no idea why there was a big time-traveling portal to an alternate Draenor, and what happened to Garrosh, or why Garrosh ended up there. Except for maybe an in-game text of, oh yeah, Garrosh escaped and he got there. There is so many things left in-game which aren't explained, right? So your moon wasn't out of the blue for any of those other powerful artifacts? Yeah, no, they were as well. I'm not saying they're not, Rav, but we're not talking about any of the other artifacts. We're talking about the Lich King right now. So basically, thank you for helping to support the point. Anyway, that aside, Shadowlands.
Please continue, because the more wrong you are, it's quite impressive.
I mean, I've proven every single one of my points so far, but okay. So going into Shadowlands, knowing what we know through limited amount of knowledge, go ahead then. I've spoken for too long. What boss would you like to see in Shadowlands, Kex, that we don't already know that might potentially be one? Because we already know that Bwonsamdi may be a boss. Now, little bit of spoilers here, so pre-warning for those of you who like to know the lore and whatever, spoilers. So there's a book that's coming out very, very soon. I can't remember the title exactly, but it is a title which is a prequel to Shadowlands, which explains what Sylvanas has been doing, and Nathanos Blightcaller and stuff right before she ascends Icecrown. In one part of the book, this is hilarious, by the way. I have no idea why this is a thing, but she sends Nathanos, the ever so capable and strong Nathanos, and is it Sira Moonwarden, the corrupted warden,
Yes.
Night Elf Warden, to both go and kill Bwonsamdi. That's funny, because yes, they're both kind of strong in their own right, but he's Bwonsamdi. So I'm not quite sure how that works out. However, that would explain the dungeon the other side if Bwonsamdi ends up dying. Because he would be in Shadowlands, like, as a resident, no longer as one who traverses back and forth. I don't think, though, he dies. I can't see Nathanos and Sira killing him. I think it was... Who was it? I think it was possibly Taliesin. For some reason, he thought that it was a possibility that they were going to kill Bwonsamdi. And I'm like, I don't think so.
I can kind of see it.
I can't. It's really weird. Although, the exception I made was that if some of the power that was gifted to Sylvanas from, we assume, the jailer from the Shadowlands, was also gifted to Nathanos and maybe Sira, then yes. If they've got a little bit of that power that she has, then yes, I can see them having the power to do it. But without that, no. But if they were juiced up from the jailer's power like Sylvanas, yeah, exactly. So then that would be the only exception. So in Shadowlands, I can 100% see Nathanos being a boss. In a raid or a dungeon of some kind, he's definitely going to be a boss. And Sira Moonwarden. So Nathanos and Sira, they're definitely going to be a boss. Somewhere.
100%.
100%. So that's 2 bosses ticked off.
There is no way that they are going to have... there is no way that they are going to have Nathanos be such a big part of BFA and be such a dick.
Yeah. If only we could turn that monster against our enemies.
Yeah, exactly. It's this massive crybaby going, "Oh, we couldn't get the bear to help Sylvanas." That's basically what he was like.
Shame we can use that to turn against our enemies.
There's a large enemy nearby.
My
Please, can you help him?
My queen, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
That's nothing.
It feels like at some point he is just going to turn up and be like, "You need to help me with Sylvanas." Like this
just crying.
just crying the entire time. Basically, that's the. If you don't believe us, go into the game and do a specific kill. So if you see a kill quest where it's like there's a difficult mob, it's usually represented by
a beast or something.
A blue.
Yeah.
It's a blue quest marker in either Kulturass or Zandalar, and 9 times out of 10, Nathanos will be like, "Oh, you kill it," and he will be like, "Oh, it's a shame we couldn't turn it onto the help." And it just sounds like he's crying. You don't believe us?
He does. He really does. But okay, those two. Go on then. That's 2 of the bosses I put up so far. What boss do you think is gonna be in Shadowlands?
I would. Okay, so Shadowlands gives us a bit of a unique opportunity where we can technically revisit bosses, but in a different style.
Mm-hmm.
We know for a fact that when people go to Shadowlands, they do join up with the covenant that they choose, and they slowly but surely lose their self over time and become something new, depending on what their spirit's done.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be against having a battle against someone that we've already fought or someone that we know in lore, and have kind of their abilities and kind of the Covenant abilities. I fully expect to see this in the first raid in that castle.
Onyxia new form. No, oh my god. Please.
I half expect to walk into a room at some point in Shadowlands and hear the phrase, "I've had many setbacks before." I'm expecting that. Fully expecting.
You walk into a big open hall and just echoes around is, "I know what you're thinking." You're like, "Oh no!" It's like,
gotta make a meme
but the
out of it,
Sunwell was merely a setback. And like as that ends, he'll smash through like the roof where there's just like a ceiling window pane, and it'll just like superhero land with like sand lane wings, and he'll stand up and be like, "Kael'thas," and they'll be like, "Oh crap!" And then the boss fight starts. That'd be pretty cool.
They have
though.
already said that Kael'thas is going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think they'll go down the route of a boss. It's too easy.
Yeah, that's true. That on that same line though, I would like to see, because we are going to see, what's the area called with all the sand lane and such like that? I can't remember what it's called.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Begins with D. I want to see, because that's where the first raid is going to be as well, I believe. I want to see like a Dracula-esque style sand lane, like the most powerful sand lane.
Oh, we will see. I'm fully expecting to have a Castlevania moment.
Yeah. That is a like I don't do raids, but I would look forward to that so much. Like I would want to raid that, like a Castlevania type raid.
No one would take you. It's true. No one would take you. I want to find. I'm still trying to find out exactly what's happening with this Death Knight thing, because I swear that it is mentioned that the Lich King has joined them. It's
Okay,
not just a case
okay,
of you go through
Rav?
it and then all of.
Dracula Castle raid that was already announced. It wasn't called the Dracula Castle raid though, was it?
No, it wasn't called. It was called Castle Nefaria or something like that. But I can fully accept. I can see that happening in regards to bosses that I would want to see.
That's like I'm speculating or something. Yeah, go on.
I would like to see some form of. I'd like to see some form of a Sawfang boss, because we know he's there. I would also like to see. I don't know whether she will be a boss, but Ashara is doing something, and we don't know what it is yet.
Okay.
I would like to see a Xalatath boss. Don't know whether I'd want to see it in Shadowlands.
Yeah, no. Xalatath, I think, is gonna she's been in BFA. Shadowlands is gonna be a huge break. It's gonna be nothing, and then maybe return in the expansion after, maybe. Which would be weird because that's gonna be a light expansion, so that'd be really weird. It's because as we know, it's gonna be definitely gonna be a light expansion after Shadowlands.
Yeah,
but okay, so it's really kind of interesting because you kind of, because of the themes of everything, I want to, there's kind of a lot to work with. I for one would like to see in Bastion maybe just like a super swole owlkin. That'd be an awesome boss.
We know that the Swolkins are there.
Yeah,
we know that is a thing.
Super Swolkin.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome. That'd be another one. So Swolkin are there. I'd like to see some variation of undead, so they could definitely come up with a new one, couldn't they, really?
Possibly.
With the Necrolords being there as well. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, like, there's always a chance for it to be a boss because we're not quite sure on the dungeons yet. Like all of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could be around. There could be some sort of trial dungeons rather than just the adventure dungeons. Who knows? So there's a lot to potentially work with. The one thing. Two hand. You okay?
The second quest on the Death Knight class hall literally says, we have an unexpected ally in this war and we're going to need every advantage we can get to defeat the Burning Legion. The Ebon Blade will serve as the Lich King's arm as long as the Scourge is confined to Northrend. In return for our assistance, our ally has offered to assist in obtaining powerful weapons for the strongest of our knights. Therefore, it is said explicitly in game that they have made a pact, and the Lich King doesn't just suddenly appear out of nowhere.
The Lich King does suddenly appear out of nowhere in your head. He doesn't. He talks to you before you go to the Ebon Blade Order Hall.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
No, he doesn't.
He does.
The Ebon Blade, you are given a quest in Dalaran as a Death Knight by somebody who says, this person from the Ebon Blade is looking for you. Then you go around and speak to the person from the Ebon Blade who turns around and says, yes, we have made
Who
a
gives
deal
you that?
with the Lich King.
Who gives you that? Who you speak to?
What,
Who's that
the
person?
quest
Who's that person that says that to you?
What do you mean?
Who gives you the quest? Who says those lines to you? What character says that line to you? We've made a pact.
Oh, someone called Duke Lankrell.
Okay, fuck Duke, right? Because basically, again, it's just come out. It's just literally out of nowhere. Because it's just like, oh, we made a pact with Lich King. Everything's cool now. Why?
That's not what they said.
Yeah, they're like, oh.
Everything's cool now.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
feel free to keep changing the facts I've given.
no,
you
it's
to-
not changing the
to
facts.
help prove
It's not changing the facts. It's just reinforcing it that he basically enslaved them. They hate him more than anything, and now they're like, okay, that's cool.
No, they hated Arthas. They don't hate Bolvar.
They hate the Lich King.
Okay.
No,
It's a different Lich King.
yeah.
You saying that Arthas and Bolvar are the same?
The Lich King's a Lich King. He's an
Are you saying
entity.
that Arthas and Bolvar are the same?
As an entity, yes. The Lich King is an entity. The mindset of everyone is in the Helm of Domination, which is really confusing to say now that it's broke. Oh, where does that leave that?
I mean, that can't be true because Bolvar held back the Scourge. We didn't have to deal with them, so therefore they can't be the same.
Yes.
And then this, in return, him turning around and saying that Bolvar has agreed to keep the Scourge confined to Northrend, but will help us with taking on the Legion. Therefore, suggests that they can't be one and the same.
They can exist within him, but Bolvar had immediate control. The others don't have control, but they have influence, but they are the same entity.
Okay.
Mhm.
So...
But we're
Well,
not going
it
back to
doesn't
this.
matter, no.
We're not going back to this. So basically, moving forward and yonder. What did I say before you interrupted me so rudely?
I didn't interrupt. I was...
You were waving your hand at me and interrupting me rudely. I can't even remember
correct.
now.
You were saying one a lot.
One.
I think it was Swolkin.
Oh, well, we did have the Super Swolkin, we did. And then we was on about Dungeon Trials. That was it. There we go. I found my way back to where I was. So, the most interesting one, I think, in terms of bosses and creatures that come out of it, will be the Maw.
Oh, the Maw's going to be...
It's going to spit out some horrific things.
There's going to be some vile creatures.
Speaking of Arthas, I hope that's where Arthas is. I think if Arthas went anywhere, that would be where he went. I think he's gone to the Maw. Because the amount of heinous crimes and things that he committed getting to the Lich King and becoming the Lich King is worthy enough of him being sent to the Maw. I really think.
I can see him being in the Maw. Do they... I don't know if they want to introduce him so close to Bolvar becoming a character.
Well, he's no longer the Lich King, though. Like, in this is just his soul, right? So, when Arthas died, he basically became himself.
Yeah.
He basically became himself.
What I've said. They've stated he's there. I don't think it was never confirmed. When she yeeted herself off Ice Crown, it's never said that where he is. And they say that someone like Arthas would end up in the Maw. They haven't explicitly stated he is in the Maw. Can we more using him as a point of reference?
Can we make it canon that Sylvanas yeeted herself off Ice Crown?
She yeeted herself hard.
Can we change all canonical descriptions of her jumping off Ice Crown to yeet? Just change it in every book.
I hereby confirm that Heroic Leap is now called Heroic Yeet.
And that is what Sylvanas did off of Ice Crown. And it wasn't a heroic yeet.
First change confirmed.
It was a death. You coward. It was a death yeet. She death yeeted off of Ice Crown. That's what Sylvanas did. Okay. Wouldn't you? I mean, you know, if I was really depressed that the Lich King was still alive and they ruined my life and tore my soul out and I had to go in my own undead body and then seek revenge, yeah, probably.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. So basically, the amount of things that come out more, we'll probably see Arthas. I'm interested to see where the new law goes with the jailer. Will the jailer be a boss? I don't know. So it's very hit and miss with the jailer being a boss because we don't know what he's about yet.
Yeah. There is obviously a lot to discuss in regards to the jailer and the entity that we know who is the Arbiter.
Yes. The Arbiter, yes.
So here's where I go a little bit tinfoil hat. This
is the time for it. Tinfoil hat's on.
Time for it. The person that we see at the end of the Shadowlands trailer with the crown and everything.
Yeah.
He has been confirmed as being the jailer. Like, they have explicitly stated that person behind Sylvanas is the jailer. Have they? Have they 100% confirmed that?
I think so. I find it interesting.
The jailer. Okay, so yes, they have. Okay,
I find it interesting. They have a jailer of the souls in the afterlife, and they also have the Lich King, which was the jailer of the damned. Interesting titles.
I swear to God, if it turns out that Arthas is a jailer, I will kick off.
Oh no! Apparently, so I think they have said the jailer has existed for a long time.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I think so.
The more's gonna ping out some. I'm interested to see because.
Yeah, new character.
When you look at how you look in the Chronicle, you see how the book is kind of like scaled out, and you've got the opposite things. We see the Shadowlands
shadow chaos.
We see the Shadowlands kind of exists outside of reality slightly. My question is, do the characters that we see in the Shadowlands only come from our version of Azeroth? Are there multiple versions of Shadowlands?
Treat the Shadowlands like the Emerald Dream is what you've got to do.
Okay.
That is what you've got to do. So, as far as I understand it, I can't remember where I heard it, but they basically, they basically said the Shadowlands is just like an Emerald Dream. So it's obviously the opposite. It does the opposite thing, but that's how you treat it in terms of overlapping realms.
We know that everyone dies ends up in the Shadowlands. That's how it works, and that include that, you know, that's every humans, orcs, taurens, creatures, everything like that. Does that also include people, like, for example, we know that where do demons go when they die?
Well, originally, any that served the Legion went back to Argus and were recreated, weren't they? That's all we learned. We always thought that they went back to the Twisting Nether and then could reform there, but it was confirmed that if they were part of the Legion, they would go back to, I think it was Argus, and Argus would remake them. Unless they were not part of the Legion, in which case I think they go back to the Nether.
But if we kill, wasn't it? And again, they've changed this so many times. Wasn't it canonical that if they were killed in an area that was heavily steeped in fel, that they would just, or you know, was had a connection to the Twisting Nether, they would just die?
Yes. So if they died while in the Twisting Nether, yes, they would just be completely destroyed. So that's what happened to Archimonde at the end of Warlords of Draenor. When you fight him in the Twisting Nether, when you kill him there, that just kills him because you kill him in the Twisting Nether. Why he takes you to the place where he can literally be killed forever is beyond me.
But it's also where he's at his most powerful.
Yes. That being said, I think things like Archimonde is completely dead. Kil'jaeden is completely gone. A demon as he was, he's still Eredar demon. They're gone. They're like gone and gone. So any other normal demons, I think, would go back to the Twisting Nether, though. Yes.
Ooh, I just thought of a character that would be interesting as A, either an NPC, or B, as some form of potential boss, depending on how it works. Maybe as like similar to the Odin boss, where he's testing us.
Yeah.
What about Medivh?
Ooh.
Or his mother, because you know we know that they kind of exist. They live beyond as guardians.
It was never explained how Medivh came back in Warcraft 3.
Exactly.
So he just decided to just step on in from the Shadowlands and come back to Azeroth to be him again.
Here's another question. This is a question for everybody who's listening, obviously on Twitch even, listening via podcasts, YouTube. Let us know in the Discord, you know, or even tweet us if you so wish. They've spoken about there are going to be losses when we go to the Shadowlands.
Oh, my feels.
Who is the number one character that you would like to see killed? So not because you don't like them, but because you feel it would fit best with A, the story, and B, how they kind of fit in with that.
No one on the Horde. Do you know why? Like, literally, Council of the Horde Thrall's dead. Oh, crap. They can't do this, right? They cannot kill anyone else on the Horde because it's so imbalanced. If you kill off any more leaders, we literally won't have a Horde left. Shut up, Alliance players. So I think, like, they can't kill Anduin because he's literally the only thing holding the Alliance together. They cannot kill Thrall, Bane, or Lor'thramar because they're now the council. They're the only things holding the Horde together. So there are key players they cannot kill. They cannot kill. I mean, if they do, it'll send everything into chaos. But I'm for story's sake, I don't think it would be really interesting if Anduin just died. It would be, but he's had a lot of development. To kill him now would be a bit early, I think, because Varian died in Legion. He's stepped up and like rose to be a leader like in Legion, but was only properly a leader in BFA. To have him alive for one expansion, then dead the next, they're basically doing a Vol'jin to him, which I don't think is wise. So who would I like to see killed? Someone important enough, but also not so important that it will destroy the story.
Yeah, I'd like to see
difficult.
I'd like to see some side character like Rexar. I love Rexar, but I think it would be a big loss. I would also think it would be very, very interesting if it wouldn't destroy the story, it would change it. I would be interested to see if Gen was lost.
Probably. See, here's a bit of a difficult position where we are in the story right now, is that there aren't that many important characters left. Which kind of hurts, but it's true.
But they're that important.
Yeah, so if you removed Thrall, Jaina, Anduin, and let's say Magni, you've literally just sent both factions spiraling.
Or you have Anduin survive the initial. You have Anduin survive the initial sort of like side of it, and then at the end, he ends up getting caught up in something or sacrificed or something along those lines. The next expansion, whatever they want to do with that, light-based expansion, please. You then have suddenly an alliance force where maybe things between Gen and the Horde and Tyrande and the Horde aren't necessarily settled.
It's really hard to say. There are many options and many roads you go down, but like any one of them has a really deep impact on each faction. So there will be losses. I just wonder who.
Or you use it to maybe push to Malfurion.
True.
Malfurion dies in the Ardenveld, which would be, pretty much a permanent thing for him.
I wonder if they just do like pure shock factor. We go to how Broken Shore was. We go to Shadowlands. There's a cinematic we don't see, like BFA, like Legion, and like obviously it doesn't play the story after because it's spoilery. But imagine there's a shock factor because we start in the Moor, right? Imagine we go through all the trials and more, and then we helped out, and we get out. We just get out the other end. As we get out the other end with something like Anduin and or Jaina and Thrall, for example. Imagine as we step out the Moor, Sylvanas is there, and 2 arrows just get struck through Anduin and Thrall, and they both gone. Like that would be the start of an expansion.
I'm gonna pull it back to very similar to Halo Reach. When you're escaping and Cat gets sniped through the back of her head.
Yeah, that was sort of in the middle-ish of the story, though, wasn't it? I suppose not the start.
That sort of feeling where it just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, so it would definitely be a shock factor in the start of an expansion. You'd be like, "Oh, shit!"
I swear to God, if that happened, if there is a cinematic where they're escaping from the Moor and everything's fine, and then you hear this pinging of a bowstring and Bane drops, I am Alt F4ing, I am uninstalling, I am turning off my computer, and I'm walking away, and so I am never returning.
So you don't want to see Bane killed, then, is what you're saying?
Possibly.
Okay, all right.
So it's gonna happen.
So basically, whoever dies joins us in spirit at the end of Shadowlands, like the ending of Endgame. Against like Sylvanas' forces.
Exactly.
That'd be amazing. But okay, for another time, we'll see what happens with Shadowlands. We got still plenty of time to speculate. But as for myself and Kexman, our speculation ends for today. But if you want to keep up with the discussion, then by all means, join our Discord. You can talk with us in there, and you think you do, but you don't. Channel in general chat any way you want. Please keep up with our videos and everything that we got over on Warcraft Radio on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Warcraft Radio, including
a slightly big video with a Mr. Ian Hazakostis.
Yeah.
Athelos interviewed him. It's a very, very good interview. Takes a look at the 8.3 race to world first, and some of the shortcomings from that race. And to follow up with that, we also have the Technically PvP guys live here on Tuesday evening, our time. I believe it's Tuesday afternoon in the US. They're going to be live with David Hollings, who is one of the esports managers. They're going to be talking about the MDI and the Arena Championships and the changes that they have made. If you do want to submit any questions for that, if you are a subscriber to the channel. So, for example, you've used your free Twitch Prime sub to subscribe to the channel. You can ask your question in our Murloc channel, our very, very special channel for subscribers only. Or if you don't want to subscribe to us here on Twitch, you can also get us on Patreon as well. If you've been enjoying this content, you want to see more of it, and you want to see it, in spangly 4K, because we've been able to afford a 4K camera for some reason.
I wish.
That's the way to follow us, and that will also gain you access to that specific channel as well. You can add your questions for the interview on Tuesday.
And the main reason to hit that follow button is to see if Dunkirk turns up at any one week. That'd just be a special occasion in of itself.
Next week, we need to add something else on there. Next week, we need to add Iron Brew, then Fast.
No, I said I'm going to make that part worse and worse every week until he turns up. Look forward to that. That's just going to get worse every week until he shows up. So if he never does, it's just going to be horrible. It's going to be great. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us. We will be back again next week, next Friday at 7 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. EST, here on You Think You Do But You Don't, Warcraft Radio. We'll see you then.
We will do.